Welcome back to the A stream here at the Charlotte 6 Major. I'm Des, this is Tim, and we just had a great game of DarkZero versus G2. The DarkZero walked away 8-7 as the winner, 2 points in their back pocket, 1 to G2, and now DarkZero's reward for that victory is another game, this time, Tim, against W7M. One of our remote teams playing from Mexico City, but also the top-rated team from Brazil.
That's it, just in case they hadn't had enough against G2, they're going to get a little bit more now, and it's not going to get any easier against W7M. As we've said, Group C, bit of a group of death. W7M, top-rated team coming out of Brazil, and you just already know that means that they are no slouchers. Beating teams like Liquid, like FaZe, like NIP, like Team 1 coming in here. They are going to be tough competitors.
It's not looking super fun because W7M team kind of came out of nowhere. Everyone was like, wait, they're like 7-0. What's going on? How? And a lot of that came from some of their newer players as well. Volps especially, really setting the world alight. And just in case you aren't aware of who they are, I'm sure you've heard of the DarkZero boys, given they played on the stream just a short time ago. But on the other side for W7M, we've got K's, we've got GDN, Herds, Volps, and JV. Volps, again, that player that I alluded to earlier on, and mentioned a number of players around the world. Mowgli, for example, playing for Wolves. 19 kills he's dropped in his first LAN game. What's that all about? These newer kind of like 18, 19-year-old gunners that are coming through are absolutely phenomenal, and Volps is one of them.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I remember W7M back to the Padrin, Panico, Freezow days. A bit of a throwback there for any W7M fans. But as you say, a real shake-up in the roster this year has done wonders for them as an organisation, and they've come through fantastically well. Worth mentioning as well, Des, Mowgli's ace was on ace. Had we been casting that game, it would have been ace casting an ace on ace.
On ace, yeah. Then we see like aces or ace.
That's it. If you throw a player in there as well, then it really does get a bit crazy. But we're going to have this game kicking off very, very soon, Des. We're not going to be too far away whatsoever from getting into this one. And my big question here is we're really on the side of DarkZero. You know, how quickly do they come back from what has just been a very intense matchup against G2?
What I love, by the way, is the players that we're seeing, of course, playing from Mexico City have got a full setup as well. So it is all things equal when it comes to the setups at the very least. But let's take a look at the map on which this showdown will take place. Bank, the first one taken out of the board by W7M.
I mean, that's not anything negative for DarkZero. We know that Bank for a long time has been a little bit of a LATAM favourite, although W7M have chosen to take it away to begin with. Skyscraper going sort of suits W7M. We haven't seen them play an awful lot of Skyscraper, and they did struggle against Liquid on it when they played them against it in the Copper Elite 6, so that sort of plays into their wheelhouse. But we're going to have that big Chalet pick coming in from DarkZero. I think that's going to be a really good map for these two.
Oh, I mean, DarkZero especially will be delighted because in the map we played earlier on when we were on Cafe, G2 had actually banned away Chalet to take us into Cafe. A little bit of a surprise. So here for DZ to land upon Chalet is roughly where they wanted to go and where they thought they'd go, no doubt, against G2. Now they get the same thing against W7M. So a fantastic map, very attacker-leaning, really gives both teams a chance to flex those muscles and show us what their gunners can do.
That's it. It's going to be all about the frags here. It's going to be about who can come in, particularly on the side of W7M. What are we going to see out of those? Herds, a lot of experience for anybody, you know, again, who's not too familiar with W7M. Herds is the one who's been there for the longest time now. The other players have come in around him, brings a lot of experience to the team with him, so they're going to be looking at him as like a bit of a rock, and then, like you say, getting those young gunners like Volps out there to do some real damage on the attack. Particularly, I think W7M going to be looking to have a good entry game here and get themselves those advantages against DarkZero early in the rounds.
Absolutely. It's one of those where many look at younger players around the world and are like, you need some experience, you know, these young kids can't do it all by themselves. But again, the story that we've seen so far in the last 6 months has been bringing in those younger gunners is working wonders. Look at Heroic and Benja, the sort of damage that he's been doing on that team. You know, it really does bring the game to another level, and sure, you need that guidance and that experience, but teams that are embracing that skill and the capabilities in the youth of today are the ones that so far seem to be enjoying quite a bit of success. Now, I think like many people, Tim, we haven't seen a whole lot of W7M. We saw them playing, of course, over in LATAM. We've seen a few games there. We've watched back a few of them as well. But on the international stage, when you're sat all together like they are now, this is where the real test starts starts to come in. Because if you can prove yourself regionally, fantastic. You then got to be able to take that successfully onto the global stage, and this is their first real test.
It is, and you know, for W7M, you're absolutely right. Nobody in the world has really seen an awful lot of W7M. Even the LATAM fans who are sat watching every single game.
They've seen a few games.
They've only seen stage one. That's, you know, this W7M really does need to be considered as pretty much a new team. That's the size of the scale of the changes, really. So, like you say, it's going to be a bit of an eye-opener for everybody. But we have got game 2 heading underway, Des. We're going to go over to Chalet. We've got our operator bands coming in, and it's going to be very quick so far as the immediate Hibana ban comes in.
I mean, Hibana as a ban on this map already is quite... You don't really see her on this map. I'd say played for one, but banned even more. Like teams love running things like the Ace or the Thermite to put focus on the dining wall or looking at the focus on the office wall. They're always the big 2 focus points. The one thing it does enable you to do with it being banned away is to play on mezzanine and much more aggressively, because for a lot of players, they'll stick a player on mezz behind a single reinforced wall, and it's the Hibana's job to deny that away, Hibana's job to get it opened up, and then it's on the defenders to kind of counter that by shooting them off the wall, which is normally where your library stairs player comes in. The Hibana off the board makes that position suddenly much more viable and much stronger to play around. On the other side though, Jackal and the Valkyrie also being taken away. Before that, my ban returns once again. The same ban that we saw out of DarkZero on Cafe.
The most interesting of those 4 bans to me is that Jackal ban from W7M. They start off on the attack. But
that's a proper, you know exactly what you're getting when you get into a ranked
game. You know what you're getting, exactly. I'm excited.
That's why
I'm excited. As soon as they move on to the defense, I'm now expecting to see a heavy roam presence from W7M, getting out into the map, looking to take those gunfights, looking to make the attacking half very difficult for DarkZero. If they don't do that, I'll feel like it's a little bit of a trick missed, because they've taken the Jackal out. They've given themselves every opportunity to do that. And so I'd like to see that come the second half. As it is, we're going to get into round 1. W7M kick things off on the attack, and interestingly as well, Thatcher is available. Not going to be brought along on every single round of Chalet, just because there isn't always that much breaching requirement, but anywhere where you're going to want to breach into office particularly, you're going to want the Thatcher realistically to make life a little bit easier. Interesting to see him not being brought along for a kitchen attack really, because you've got 2 walls. You've got the office wall, and then you've got the wall from main lobby into kitchen, which you may want to breach, and if we've got any denial on there, it could be difficult. As it is, there's the mute, so there is the possibility for a little bit of a stall there.
I remember someone actually saying to me once that mute kind of plays like a Jaeger in a way, and I was like, what on earth are you talking about? This was a coach, mind you, in EUL saying this. And he was saying essentially teams, to try and force their way through these mute jammers, if you can't shoot them from below or get rid of them safely, you are forced to use a grenade to get rid of them. You have to toss it in. So sure, it's not quite like an ADS in that it catches nades for you, but it does force you to use those critical bits of utility just to clear them away. Some teams use it to deny wall because it just slows things down, although as we all know, now that mute has now been changed to have a spherical radius rather than a cylindrical one, it's in a spot where you can still open up walls if you've only got the one mute jammer being placed on them. So there's always that to be mindful of. For W7M though, things are going to start off, for a few of them at least, up towards the north side with the focus on trophy. No big surprises there. You may yet see them rotate over to playing inside a lobby a bit later on and then moving their way forwards.
Wanting to get themselves established inside a solar by the look of things. They've got 2 on repel on the windows, but it's going to be Pamba on the smoke, holding them back for the time being. But as you can see, Toxic Babe canisters going out already. Herds is there, he's ready, he's alert, he sees Pamba stray across and just expose himself down the side of that reinforcement, and he will take a little bit of damage as well. Pamba's being pushed around a little bit here, but it's Eclipse who's doing the real damage. Manages to find a nice nade onto JV. That's going to take him down. Good entry for DarkZero, and they continue as they left off against G2. Des really good on the entry.
There's 3 of them that are being tagged down here slowly, but they're the ones finding the kills. It doesn't matter on W7M if you can find your man, because you're not putting them in the coffin. So unfortunately for W7M, they're down 3. They've found one back with Volp starting his march forward, but with how much HP he's got left him, it's looking a little bit dicey. Goes for the head and just about misses his man.
Going to take a few pot shots through the soft wall there. Doesn't find one, but does manage to spin onto the bathroom door and take down Pamba with a headshot, leaving us now in a 3v2. Taking down the default cam. W7M, a little bit of a mistake there. I know that they've gone in and they've gone into gunfights, but you've got to be taking out that default utility, because it's the information. You saw it was a little blue. It was being watched. DarkZero have got players dead. They're on the cams. You can see that Pamba Hyper feeding that information back in. And W7M, they need to make sure they don't let nerves get the better of them. They need to make sure that they are doing the basics.
They are here, just getting some walls opened up as well. Of course, mindful about these vertical shots as in comes GDN, trying to find one. Look at it. Every single member of DZ in this round has been tagged, but not all finished off. 3 of them down to about half HP or less here. It's going to get real dicey because GDM with a couple of kills could be the difference maker.
That's it. It makes it really possible. But on the far side, you've also got Volps, who is one shot away. Somehow GDN gets away with a kill onto Canadian. He's going to rue missing that opportunity. Takes a little bit of damage, does GDN, but able to continue fighting. Volps is trying to push in. One bullet is going to do it.
No HP.
To be honest, one graze from a bullet is going to do it. He manages to find NJR.
No way!
Gets turned around, and Volps, with about 3 HP, manages to find the last 2 kills inside of sight. And I tell you what, Des, if W7M are going to play with that sort of aggression throughout this, it ain't going to be easy for DarkZero.
Now, I know many are going to have questions. How are these guys playing from Mexico City? Well, the answer is with some difficulty, right? Look, ping is a thing. These boys are going to be playing slightly behind everyone else at some level, but Volps has just walked a 4K in the first round. 2 of those kills coming whilst he had 3 HP. I said in that pre-game, these 18, 19-year-olds are starting to set the world on fire. You have just seen one man march his way through a team that just not so much breezed past, but blasted their way past G2 in the previous game. DZ have really got to tighten things up. They cannot let that be a thing. But something tells me Volps is already out of the gate and running.
I just don't think DarkZero expected him to be pushing into sight from Trophy, to be honest. They just seemed to be holed up, ready for a push from elsewhere, and just didn't manage to make the challenge onto him successfully. But like you say, it's going to be probably a rare mistake from DarkZero. We wouldn't expect to see it repeated. It was 4v2, and it was overturned by W7M. So we're going to be heading into round number 2. It's going to be bar and game.
Yes, this is the setup that I was on about in the pre-game, by the way, with the Habana band away. Not common at all on this map. Where Hyper is right now is where you'll have a player sat normally with a shield facing up towards the library hallway window as well. And normally the main point of challenge is that you get Habana out on the library window and start trying to get that opened up. You can't really do that now, given she's banned away. So there's no hard breach attempt coming in from the other side. W7M just saying, forget about it. We'll bring the butt, we'll bring the sledge. We've got 4 nades on side. We've got loads of flashes. We've got the Flores in back pocket. It just screams confidence to me that they're not even bothering with a hard breach here. Not that it's really needed for this site, but they don't care about bringing an ace, for example, to try and force this wall open. They're just feeling confident they can kill them outright by trying to jump in through windows or pushing in through lobby, or even worse, just saying, right, we're going to get inside library, we're going to march forward, we'll kill 3 people. What's the problem?
Looking to get aggressive towards library. W7M here. Flash goes in, is going to hit NJR full in the face. He's going to be very reliant on Hyper, and this is what we see from this position, as you say, one having to look after the other. Hyper, he's just aware that there's a potential for somebody to come in through that single window, probably looking for the drones as well, make sure that that utility is getting taken out. Still 8 available for W7M here, so plenty of information to be fed back into these entry players before they try to move in, but the ADS is doing their work and taking down the throwables. Case manages to take down Herds with an unfortunate nade there on the team kill, and then we get a 2K running in, one going either way. 4v2 for DarkZero once again after it all shakes down. There's Volps off the board this time, so that's the big fear from round 1 gone, and DarkZero, they need to prove that they can close this out this time.
They do, absolutely. It's another 2 versus 4. Volps is offline, so okay, cool. Big point advantage over to the side of DZ. That friendly nade kill, really the big destroyer, I think, for W7M's attack, because they've done the job. They've burned through the ADSs. They've done all they needed to, but just sadly had the bounce off the window, which brought down one man. NJR finds the second. All too easy for DZ to completely shut W7M down in round number 2.
Yeah, never really broke down that library hold, did the W7M. They were just never able to really get in and remove any of those pieces. You've got Hyper, you've got NJR, you've usually got one at the top of library stairs as well, and you've got to take one of those players down for the others to fall like dominoes, and it just wasn't something that W7M were able to do. The team kill was an unfortunate start, but you can't say that it was the whole story of that round, because DarkZero were just alert. They were well aware of exactly what W7M were trying to do, and they managed to find those kills. It's going to lead us into round 3. To be honest, you feel there's like this one could be 2-0 to DarkZero at this point in time. It was only for a Volps 4K with 2 kills with 3 HP left in the first round that they managed to get that one on the board. So right now, DarkZero, I think, going to be feeling pretty comfortable here heading into round 3.
We'll get a couple more rounds really, before we have too strong an assessment on W7M. I know, of course, we've only seen the two, but it's about the repetition as well. If DarkZero continue to look ahead, to look comfortable, then there's questions to be asked for W7M about what they can do to turn things around. In this round, it's Volps changing over from not just the Sophia or the soft breach that we saw in the last round. No, he's going over to bringing along that Thatcher tin that we mentioned wasn't banned away. So not really looking at it and saying that Thatcher's going to be the be-all and end-all in this round, but it's still enabling them to move a little bit faster through things like the Banshees, the Mute Jammers, the ADSs, you name it.
I think we might see a little bit of a different approach from W7M as well, having brought the Thatcher along. Rather than trying to go in through Solarium and try to brute force their way in, they know that didn't really work last time around, so they might just try to attack from the south side instead, get main lobby locked down, and basically what I was talking about in round one, look to get that office wall open, look to get main lobby through to dining open, and try to push in from there. The fact that they're pressuring Library, the fact that I've seen Volps moving off towards main lobby door, I think that's probably what we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, I mean, you got the hard breach on side here. It needs to really be utilised to force things up, which is exactly what they're doing inside of the lobby.
Simple as that.
All too easy. 2 Selmas down, EMP onto the wall, bish bash bosh, job done. You've got your entryway in, congratulations. Now it's about looking for what happens next, because this is where I feel vertical control is going to be the name of the game. You want to make sure your planter stepping inside a site is safe. There are no smokes on side to cover things out, but Tim, one thing they have got in abundance is claymores. They've got 4 of them in back pocket, 2 already placed down. Just to stop Canadian who's trying to be a little bit cheeky down in the basement from causing too much disruption.
The recent change, of course, if you're wondering where those 4 claymores are coming from, claymores were increased in the pocket from 1 to 2, so the fact that 2 operators have them in Volps and GDN leaves us with 4. JV surely going to find a kill. No, manages to be taken down by Pamba. There's going to be a kill elsewhere in the map as Case takes down Canadian, leaves us in a 4v4, 4v3 as Eclipse loses a lot of health but still manages to find the kill onto Herd. Shut down by Volps. W7M keeping this close 3v3 after a flurry of kills in the mid-round.
Absolutely. And Case here thinks in a bit of danger, maybe getting a long angle contest if he's not careful. Bit of threat from Bathroom, a little bit from further down towards the library stairs. Hyper moves his way up through Solo, looking to get a pinch onto this angle just as Case drops away. Talk about timing.
Just going to have a little bit of a pause in the mid-round here as the information is coming in. We can see Volps and GDM both on the drones there. They've got what they can gather and they're going to look to start moving forward. Only 3 drones left on the board though, Des. That's going to leave W7M really starved of information here. There's still vertical control for DarkZero. They've not been able to clear them out from above, so W7M are likely to have a tough time of things. Volps, he's going to clear out a little bit of utility, but he's very conscious towards those library stairs and probably with good reason. We're going to have Hyper managing to find the kill onto Kays. He's going to be shut down in a trade by GDM, but there come the last 2. NJR and Pamba closing down W7M. That's going to be 2-1 to them, and DarkZero looking pretty good on the defense here.
Yeah, it's weird really, because W7M went straight for that entry point in towards site, got it opened up nice and quick and put a lot of their focus around there. But you saw from DarkZero, 3 players rotate through the library stairs hallway and look to push down towards Mez. And sure, you had a little bit of cover on W7M's side, but by not taking that vertical control, having no pressure up there, you just say to DarkZero, hey guys, you want to play the vertical? It's all yours. We don't want it, which made it all too easy for DarkZero, Pamba especially, to get that closing kill and just keep W7M guessing. So far for W7M, not quite living up to the hype that we saw in LATAM, not putting on a show to really shut DarkZero down. A couple of sparkly moments coming out of Volts, but for the most part, DarkZero look in control.
They certainly do, and the thing is, you've got to remember Chalet is generally what we would say an attacker-sided map. The attacking team's usually doing pretty well here, so DarkZero being so dominant so far on the defensive half, they're going to be very happy with that because they could find themselves in a position where they're only needing to pick up maybe 2 rounds on the attack when they switch sides, and they're going to be very confident that they can do that, I'm sure. So DarkZero heading into round 4, they're going to be defending Master and Office this time around, so it's going to be up to the top floor. What are we likely to see from W7M? Well, generally speaking, we're going to see a push into Library. They're going to want to get control over Mezzanine, try to breach through the wall of Office and push from that side. Alternatively, they can use Solarium, but it gives them a lot less room to work with. It's much more compact space to get the attackers into and to aggress forward. But early positioning, they're not rushing towards Library just yet, so we'll see how this attack unfolds.
Absolutely. I like at least with the line inside there. They're trying to control things a little bit here, not let DZ run amok across the top floors or, in this case, potentially through the basement as we saw out of Canadian as well. That Echo we saw once or twice back on Cafe against G2 as well. So we know that DarkZero, when given the right opportunity, will make use of the operator. I'm not sure where the Yokais are at the moment, but no doubt they will rear their heads the longer this one goes on. It is that solo focus push once more. Though look at the drones circling around like rats here as slowly DarkZero are chewing through those numbers. And Pamba holding down up on the north side, where no doubt they expect some pressure to come in from these solar windows.
We've seen Pamba play this position already. He managed to hold them off, but not overly successfully. He was reasonably easily pushed around as they tried to get themselves in from there, so he's just going to need to maybe play a little bit more sort of cautiously. I think he was just exposing himself down the side of the reinforcement. In comes the nades, there's a lot of pressure. It's a difficult position to hold on to, especially if you get somebody on that double window repel. Pamba, he's going to extend himself out, but NJR actually manages to find himself, and what a great kill from Pamba there on the double window as well, and that's going to leave us now in a 4v3.
Can't quite find the Yokais. It slips in front of him. Herds now in a spot where they've got the solo control, but now it's about trying to push yourself into the site that may prove to be the difficult part. They've got the verticals again. There has been no push on the downstairs so far coming out of W7M, but they feel very ready to deal with it. Herds fighting NJR, not the outcome DZ were looking for, 3 versus 3.
That's it, Eclipse looking to just hold a long angle onto the window there. DarkZero happy to let W7M sort of play into them at this point, really. They don't need to get overly aggressive. 3v3, 50 seconds left to go. Yokai drone is going to spot out the push in through Solarium. It's going to be GDN on the Nomad that's looking to get aggressive through there, and Hyper maybe needs to do something about it. He's continuing in fine form after that aggressive end towards Cafe that we saw from Hyper, where he really did manage to not only get an ace, but do a lot of work for DarkZero. He tries to peek around the corner here, but it's Herds who's going to come out the better there, taking a chunk of damage off the Jaeger.
Yeah, it is indeed. A little bit of health coming off, but no man being removed just yet. In they come for the plant. GDN stepping forward, holding down F, as in comes the swing from Hyper, but Herds having a little bit of around himself. Herd and DZ up like sheep, make it a fourth as Kaze finds another. Looks like W7M have found all they need in this round. A closing kill coming out. Kaze 2K in the close, and W7M now bringing things up to 2-2.
Another close game for DarkZero. It felt like they were a little bit more on top of things, but I really do think this is potentially going to be a game of two halves, and we will see when we get into the second one that DarkZero are able to stretch their legs on attack a little bit more. But so far, it is not the end of the world for them. 2-2, and they have an opportunity still to come out on top here, but even if they can get that 3-3 split on Chalet, I think they're going to be pretty happy with that. But a good attack from W7M that time around. GDN able to get in the first time we've seen them with an opportunity to get that diffuser down on the ground. It was nice. They created some space and they were able to push DarkZero around a little bit. So W7M, they just need to build on that as a foundation now.
I do like how they're making use of the line here as well. Again, we'll acknowledge it, right? They are playing with a bit of ping here. A good way of making sure that you've got a good advantage coming into those fights is the line coming out. You know someone sat still, they move, they get pinged straight away. They're sat in one spot, you can pre-fire a corner. You can make life incredibly easy on yourself. So JV moving away from playing the blitz to bringing that along here, as Baron Gaming is the site that we step back into. No hard breach on side once again. Tin that also moved away from the ace, bringing along that Flores. Because again on this site, not really needing to make use of any hard breach, but what I will look out for is those nades, because those are the ones that really broke things apart for them last time. With the friendly team kill coming out here, there's a good number for them to work their way through. So let's see if they can get rid of NJR playing in box this time.
How aggressive are DarkZero going to play this? Not necessarily as aggressive as we sometimes see, particularly in EUL, where NJR is playing inside of the library box there. Normally, we quite often see that player in the bottom left of your screen, tucked in the corner of library, preventing the push coming in from double window. It's a really aggressive position and basically one that you're playing your life in, and you've got to rely on your player in Hyper's position out on mezzanine to keep you safe. What's interesting for me, Des, is that DarkZero aren't playing anybody on library stairs. Usually that's your third man in this defense. You've got a shield at the top, you play a man up at the top there, and it prevents pressure coming in from office. But look at that, Hyper going big once again, using the alibi there, getting that opening kill and taking down Kaze.
A lot of their focus really is NJR in this box position. He'd normally be that player that you say would play on library stairs and contesting towards office, but when W7M is kind of running their head into a brick wall by trying to force their way in through library, why go a bit too crazy? NJR being tagged out there, and with an ADS in hand, drops it straight in the corner in a bid here to say, look, we've killed one of the nade wielders, there's only one left on side, they can't burn us out unless they go through some of our ADSs first, which they've read into. GDM burning it out, another nade on side as he drops down, had the nade in hand, NJR escapes with with his life, but only just.
Nice attempt from NJR there, just moving mid-round into that position that I was talking about. But Volps able to move in and get the man on mezzanine. That's going to take down Hyper. Pamba manages to get the trade, and JV elsewhere manages to find Canadian, and that leaves us now in a 3v3. These rounds just close almost every single time. We're going to have NJR on low health here still. He took a lot of that damage early in the round, so that is a potential advantage for W7M.
DarkZero enjoying entertaining so far today, it feels, Tim. 3-3 halves in the first game against G2, and it feels like this could be warming up exactly the same way. JV inside of Dining, looking to march his way forward. Pamba once again on the flank though, but no! The read is there. JV collects his man before NJR trades one back. Herds down, JV and GDN, all that stand between W7M and potentially, between DarkZero and another round win on the defense.
NJR making the most of the few hit points that he's got left here, getting himself a kill in the mid-round there, 2v2. Flash goes in, but unfortunately it's going to catch the Nomad himself. It's going to be JV who takes the full white flash there. NJR just playing in behind the bar, and he's got the red ping, he's got the information, he knows where the push is likely to come. He's going to be supported by Eclipse, who's just going to use those toxic babes to prevent any aggressive push. But NJR's movement here, look, he's exposing himself right out in the middle of bar there, and he's happy to take the fight, and he's happy to win the fight. As JV gets taken down, NJR manages to get himself in behind the bar. He's looking to peek, he's looking to find the kill. No, it's a 1v1 now. It's all up to GDN. He's going to have to take on Eclipse. We've already seen Eclipse manage to win out a late round 1v1. It was against Citizen last time. No! It's against GDN this time, but he can't find the same outcome. GDN somehow manages to dip and duck and dive behind that bar, find that final kill, and W7M take the lead 3-2.
All too comfortable there as well. I mean, again, it was a close round, but it's just looked composed there, stepping into those 2-1 versus 1s, gets them over the finish line. W7M in front. Yes, they're on the attacking side. Yes, it's what you come to expect. But I still think they are warming into this game now. They're starting to get the feeling for it, and DarkZero, got to be careful.
They do. They don't really want to see themselves 4-2 behind, because whilst we say that the attackers will have a bit of an advantage here on Chalet, it's unlikely, I think, that we see DarkZero come in and get a 5-1 half. I'm not saying it's impossible, but W7M, they're hitting some shots today. They're certainly competitive inside of this, so it's not going to be easy for DarkZero. And if they're staring down the barrel of, right, we can now get a 4-2 half, we can tie it up, we can go to overtime again, that could be a little bit of a mental drain on them, because they don't want to come through the first two games, both going to overtime, both going to, you know, DarkZero don't want to play 30 rounds in 2 games to come away with, you know, 3 or 4 points.
You want the lion's share of those, don't you, Tim? I think for W7M side here as well, they're excited about that defensive half, because again, they banned away the Jackal. They really want to be looking to get cheeky. Interestingly, banning away the Valkyrie, which they themselves could have made use of. Herd stepping across the bringing along the Nook here. See, some teams ban away Nook on maps like Bank, even though if they know the other side doesn't play Nook. They'll ban it just because of that sheer fear of what it can do. You know, the FMG, not an awful gun. Is it the best attacker gun? No, but it's pretty good for the defenders overall, so not terrible. You've got the nades on side, and of course, and go creeping up some backstairs and cause some real damage if you're relying on bulletproofs, of which there is one, with NJR having deployed that from the castle.
We're going to have W7M mounting their final attack then, as we are in round 6. The drones are still buzzing around that mid-floor, trying to find exactly where DarkZero are located. We're going to have NJR playing inside of West Main, and it looks like there's going to be some pressure mounting on him pretty soon, as Herds is looking to make that challenge. He's looking to find his man, but NJR is keeping himself mobile. He's dancing around, and he's going to dance his way all the way back into sight. Vertical nade not going to do any damage to anybody on the side of DarkZero. Eclipse just takes a little tickle there somewhere else in the map, and Kays gets himself onto that upside down rappel to try and again make it difficult for players to move around inside of sight.
They really enjoy their Solarium control, do W7M. They also enjoy finding some freebies. Pamba going down without so much as a shot coming back. It looks like actually a lie. JV taking a bit of damage, 2 kills coming in for DZ. NGR and Eclipse both find themselves on the board and saying, no, Kitchen's ours. We're the ones cooking up a win here. We're the one who want those 5 points. Another one comes in as Canadian steps forward, but in comes Volps. We've already seen what he can do here on the Twitch. They've brought it back down to a 2 versus 2. Is this when they can fight their way back, Tim?
Vertical control is still in the hands of DarkZero. The question is now, do they try to play it from completely upstairs? JV going to take a lot of damage from Canadian there. Volp's looking to get the diffuser down, and the cover is going to be in place. This is likely to be stuck here as Volps does secure that. I'm not sure how aware DarkZero were of that, but they're happy to play the retake from above. Canadian managing to find JV. That's going to be the planter who, sorry, no, the cover who is gone. Volps is going to be downed, and that is that. Just a case of mopping up, getting in, disabling that diffuser. DarkZero using that verticality very, very well there and showing why you gotta have top floor on Chalet if you're gonna plant inside a kitchen and dining.
I will give it, I think that has really shown the difference here between kind of that youth of today versus the old boys of the past. And DC have got some young boys on side as well. But the experience they showed in that first half, their understanding vertical control, when to use it, when to make the move, how to set up these defenses to essentially shut W7M down, really showed, I think, the experience behind this DarkZero team and will be something that W7M have to work their way through. But now we go into their territory. The Jackal ban is in, and W7M, you know, are getting out in that map and causing some trouble. It's Oryx coming in for Herds. You've got JV coming along on the Jaeger. It's going to be chaotic.
Need to locate and
it is going to be the switch of sides. DarkZero coming in to take the initiative now. Baron Gaming will be the first site for W7M, and I'm interested to see how they set up their top floor. We usually see it played quite often with 3 players up there. We saw DarkZero just going with the 2. It was reasonably easy for W7M to clear out that top floor and get library control. It didn't result in a plant necessarily going down inside of Baron Gaming, but they did win at least one of those rounds. So are W7M going to play up here a little bit more forcefully? We've got the frost mats already. Are they going to be able to put 3 men up here and hold on to it and keep it in their possession for the round? Or, again, will they hold on to it a little bit more sort of softly like DarkZero did?
I want to pull back to my point I made earlier about DZ being this sort of like chess team, right? They are, I think for the longest time, they were seen as too rigid and too focused on like a checklist they had to complete in each round. But one thing I feel they are very good at is set plays. It's like watching a football team, Tim. When I see this Capital on side, I think back to a couple of games these guys have played in NAL, mainly looking back at Stage 3, admittedly, but just the way in which they execute, using firebolts and smokes, for example, just all the tools available to them, they really pull things out the bag and make it look easy. And this is where W7M have got to get creative. You've got to play quite loose here, keep DarkZero guessing, really disrupt them. Getting up in their face and shutting things down is the name of the game. Also want to acknowledge that for DZ, where we saw W7M not even bringing hard breaches in some rounds, well, DarkZero here, on a site in which W7M didn't bring any, have the ace as well as the hard breach gadgets in for Eclipse.
We're going to have the connector wall just opened up there by the ace nice and early, so that's going to make it very difficult for anybody from W7M to play inside of there. You can see already that GDN has moved away on the Kaid. He's going to be playing inside of Bar. Herds up above him, and again, yeah, a pretty light hold of this top floor. Kays is there to support from Library Stairs area, but there's nobody really inside of Library. Herds is going to have to get aggressive, uses his Oryx dash to get forward there, and he's opening up the floor with the bailiff to try and get an angle not only onto double window down into sight, but also onto the plant spot itself. A drone will go in and spot him out, so they're well aware of his position here, and the asphyxiation bolt from Capitao going to force Herds away, and he's going to have to get aggressive onto the single window.
I really thought I'd get caught out from the window behind, then someone else would try and pincer him, but no. I think out of fear that Herds would be watching the big window, they just didn't even bother. So he's kind of got away with it a little bit for free there, but is wasting time so far inside of Library itself.
Going to be moving through to the final minute nearly here as Kays is holding a tight angle there onto that single window. Hyper is going to manage to get Herds, so that is the Oryx shutdown. And that leaves us now 5 versus 4. It's a very late entry for DarkZero though, and they're going to have to get moving here. They still don't really have the access into Library that they might want. Canadian is going to take a lot of damage out on the balcony as well, and they still don't have that top floor control.
Yeah, really nice there. Tried to get him from 2 windows at the same time. Volps just a couple of seconds behind, not able to find anything. But Pamba has stepped his way forwards here. Found 1, almost found 2 as Kays hits the deck. Eclipse is down as well, which means the diffuser, I'm pretty sure, is out of their hands at the moment, but they've got a massive numbers advantage. They're down to a 1 versus 4, only temporarily, because Eclipse being back up will make it 5. Surely DarkZero closes this out here and now.
Hyper is having another one of those games where he's being really instrumental.
No, the 2.
That's too easy.
Oh!
It's too easy for Volps as he finds a 2K, putting the diffuser down cold on the ground. And DarkZero have got a problem now. Volps goes out of the window. He's trying to get aggressive. He's opening up the angles, and DarkZero don't have too much of an option. They've somehow managed to nick in and get hold of that diffuser, though. That's the important one. And there we go. The Thatcher NJR gets it down inside of Bar. Volps just missing his opportunity there. Sees the back of the man, but can't take the shots through the floor. And now he's going to have to work his way back down. He's going to have to attack this horizontally, and he's only got a matter of time to do it. 25 seconds, 3 kills to find, and this is not going to be easy. We can hear the work coming in to breach the wall to make his life difficult. NJR finds his man at the bottom of blue, and that is going to be DarkZero taking another round.
Coming arguably a little bit closer than it should have done there for DarkZero as well. A 5 versus 1, almost completely disrupted by Volp single-handedly. Did it back in the first half, could have got it underway in the second, but no. First attacking round for DarkZero moves them up to 4 and 3.
Going to be heading into round number 8 soon, and W7M need to be careful now, Des. This is a little bit of a pivotal moment for W7M in my mind, because we've got DarkZero on the attack. We expected them to start doing well when they got there. They've won their first round, they've won round 7, and now they've got an opportunity to really build some momentum, which, to be fair, is not something that we've seen DarkZero really have so far today. It was very scrappy with G2. It was around here, it was around lost, around won. It was very back and forth, and so now DarkZero, if you want to be contenders, if you want to make me believe that you're going to go through and have a good run here, let's start getting some wind under those wings, and let's really push on now and punish W7M now that you're on the attacking side of Chalet.
Equally, W7M probably feeling here, okay, that was our primary defensive site that we've lost. Now let's go to our secondary. Lose this one, things start looking very, very dicey. And I like how they've got the mirror in this round as well. They've got one inside of the box, the electric box facing down on towards the office wall. Thank you very much, Mr. Observer. And another one downstairs looking inside of dining, again, to really focus on that vertical control. Something that when they were attacking, we just didn't really see W7M put any focus onto. So at least here, that change is coming through. It gives more layers for DarkZero to have to unpack. We'll see if they try and fight the downstairs before focusing on the up.
We've got a number of W7M players still up on the top floor, but equally, we've got herds underneath on the Aruna, so DarkZero maybe just wanting to get in there and get those kills. Volps is supporting as well. I'm not sure how far down Volps actually is. Herds actually up in the library corridor. Yes, there we go. It's Volps that's underneath. There we go.
Free.
It's Volps that's underneath. I said they may want to go in and pay some attention, get them cleared out. Pamba tries to do that on the Finker, but gets taken down, and that's going to be 2 nades likely going along with. One had been used actually, so that is not a complete waste of utility, but it is a complete waste of life.
Be one of those definite, why is he even there? There's a mirror window inside the dining hallway. Like, why would he push that far past and try and push his way far down south? Well, you had your answer. He wanted a freebie onto the lobby door. Great first starting move out of W7M. And they're now left without Pamba, without those Finker juices, without the nades that were on side. Those go down with him, unfortunately.
Hyper just clearing out utility as he goes there. Shooting out onto that double window, the Selma charge going. And that's going to be Canadian getting himself established on office, but more aggression from W7M here on the defence. I'm not sure if Canadian's aware. He probably heard, yes, he did, pre-fires as he strafes across. Must have heard the barricade being knocked out there, and Herds looking like his days might be numbered here as the pressure is mounting into office. But for me, DZ, just feel a little bit sort of disparate on this attack at the minute.
Feel a little bit uncertain, don't they? Like, being respectful is probably one way to look at it as well. They aren't wanting to go too aggressive, but at one point, you've got to just commit 2 or 3 members to try and go for a big aggressive push. Because once again, they're getting hit on the flank. You're seeing the effects of a lack of that Jackal, and even with the Nomad on side, it's doing DarkZero no favors. They lose 3, and with 1 left on window, 1 down in basement, it's not looking too good for DarkZero.
Not looking too good at all. I don't know what's going on the B stream, but we're getting a lot of excitement at the minute from, I think Chiefs are playing against Astralis, maybe?
Yeah, it's Astralis.
So there's certainly something going on over there. There's something going on over here, though. Don't you go anywhere. Volps manages to find the kill onto Eclipse. That's going to leave us now 1v4. NJR taking a bit of damage from the smoke, a lot more from the shotgun as GDN closes out the round. It's 4-4, and DarkZero are very quickly finding themselves in another bare-knuckle brawl here as they scrap for every round that they can get.
It is one of those, dare I say, Tim, 2 overtimes to start the day. It's slowly bubbling up that way. Next round will be down in Wine and Snowmobile. And I know, whenever we are in EUL, you and Jack get very, very passionate about executes onto this site around Trench.
I do get very passionate about executes onto this side because you can do it with 2 or 3 men. You really don't need too much at all to get this job done. So what we're potentially going to be looking for here, DarkZero, they need to get themselves control over Big Garage. They need to get themselves control over Trench. They need to be careful of the west main flank, which can be done just with a drone on the bookcase up at the top there, so long as somebody's going to be watching it. Once you've got control over that area, you're going to breach the wall that's right in front of you. You're going to breach the wall that's on the right-hand side of you. If you've got those 2 cleared, there is only 1 area you need to worry about realistically. Well, 2 technically. You've got the pillars area as your main number 1. You've got to clear that out. Once that's gone, it depends on the hatch. If the hatch is open, then you've got to get in, clear out dining, and have a player up there. If the hatch is reinforced, then you can just not worry about it. It's not the end of the world. You can just ignore it. Once you've got those walls open, it's then holding a line of sight from the bottom of West Main Stairs in towards Connector, 1 from the door watches towards Blue, and you can push your planter into the right-hand side of Wine Cellar, in behind that nice safe wall, get the diffuser down, and it should be as simple as that. The key thing to watch out for what we're going to see in this round initially is that dining hatch. If the dining hatch is left soft, then DarkZero are likely to want to go in and get control of that area.
What I'm really interested by, because we saw this coming out of, I think it was Citizen from G2. They played a Goyo, and they put a Goyo canister inside the barrels, or just underneath the barrels, in that area you're talking about as their main point of denial. And then you see for it out, they can't plant. It's a wonderful way of achieving exactly the same outcome, ultimately, as the defenders, to deny what is looking at least like the most obvious plant on that site. So keep an eye on it. Out goes Kays, but misses the man, NJR, down to about 25 HP, juiced back up by the Finker. Literally a bullet from Death and Herds is here for round 2, but I think at this point NJR has already stepped away, I believe. I think he's got himself just inside, sees the man, but NJR a little bit too sharp, gets the second. The aggression from W7M punished early in the round. Forget about the execute, Tim. They can just kill them all instead.
That's it. The round has fallen apart for W7M. They've taken a roll of the dice there, Des. They've come up with a 1-1 instead of a 6-6. They were hoping to find something on those aggressive plays, but the best they got was about 45 damage. Sorry, maybe 55 out of NJR. That is really all that they came away with, and DarkZero now, as you say, they can just hunt them down. They can just find the last couple that are alive and get those kills. Potentially with JV up on the mid floor, there's an opportunity for DarkZero to actually just walk into site and put the diffuser down here, because there's going to be 1 man at the absolute most. It's going to be GDM playing in and around pillars, and you start seeing now DarkZero are actually really smart here. They're going about building that plant that I've spoken about, so they've got the rear wall open. They'll move potentially and get trench wall open, and with only 2 on site, it should be very, very easy for them to get this down now.
Yeah, moving themselves over here to that wall. There you go, Tim. It's all coming together, like you say, just like a jigsaw puzzle. It's all going the way of DarkZero. And still, with a minute to play with, there is no need to rush it. And this is what I'm enjoying. They're not going hunting down these last 2 members. They're saying, look, let's just focus on the site. And when it comes round to it, then we can worry about the last 2. GDN now the last one, standing against 5 members of DarkZero. It feels like the North American side should be able to pull this one out of the bag. As here we go. Plant coming in, the angle's being held. NJR with the shutdown. A flawless round for DarkZero.
No surprise that DarkZero played it that way, because that plant will work 5v5. You will get that down with 5 defenders left alive potentially, so long as you move them out of pillars. You saw the angle that NJR was holding there. It's so difficult to challenge that as a defender, because the attackers have got the advantage of the longer scopes, so you can just hold that all the way from Big Garage down into Connector. Very difficult to play against. So in a 5v2, DarkZero know that 100% that diffuser is going down if they push onto site. So very professional from them. They get themselves the advantage, 5-4, and I think we're going to have a tactical timeout coming in from W7M.
Yep, they did call in for the pause here, so a little bit of a conversation to be had, I think, as they can see, all right, boys, we've had a good couple of rounds here, but now things are slowly starting to slip away from us. They need that conversation to get things back on track, but I think it's quite evident they're struggling, Tim, as it goes through this second half. DarkZero are looking good on the attacking side. They've gone 2-1 so far. A couple of rounds where maybe you'd argue, okay, Volps, you know, had a bit of a scary 2K coming out, but not enough that it's going to get them anywhere near the finish line. I feel DarkZero just looking very in control at the moment.
Certainly is. We're just having a look at W7M there. They're obviously set up, as we said, out in Mexico, and there's a bit of chat going on between them. They're just trying to probably refocus at this point. I think we'll be getting our way back into things pretty soon. But like you say, DarkZero, I've said it last time, I'll say it again, need to get themselves that bit of momentum. Don't let W7M back into this. That would be my one criticism for DarkZero today. They've shown great resilience, they've played well, we've had big individual moments, they've played well as a team, but they've just allowed, not necessarily allowed, G2 fought well, but its teams keep coming back at them. They keep managing to have them within one round. They never get in that breathing space that they want. So I want to see that here against W7M now. Another successful attack, 6-4, get yourself a nice little bit of breathing space.
Lovely jumping lads. I'm sure you may have just seen it in chat there. We'll have a quick rehost here to get over a quick drone bug that we experienced. Back in just a few seconds, no doubt about that. It is round 10 we're going into for W7M. I think you've touched on it nicely there as well, Tim, around the expectation of really what to come out of this group. I think many are looking at it and saying, you know, okay, we expect maybe G2 and Heroic to be the ones that go through. At least I think I was. Now we've seen DarkZero come out strong on day one. The only thing that makes me nervous about a team that plays well on day one is there are still 2 more days to go. And by the time you get to day 3, they can be figured out. Other teams have caught up by then, and things can very quickly start slipping.
Well, I said this about coming into it, looking at all the teams that we've got here. Obviously, BDS, there's always a big question mark over. They haven't had the best, you know, results on LAN necessarily. No. And quite often we see them come into tournaments really hot, and they come in and they're winning games, they're beating everybody, and it seems like it sort of just dies off towards the end. They'll maybe get a quarter, a semi, and they just don't have the legs to get over the line. Whereas this time coming in, BDS have had a little bit of a questionable season in EUL, and I wonder if that's going to do them better here. You know, you come in and, like you say, DarkZero come in and you beat this team, you beat that team, day 1, day 2. Can you sustain that over the whole 6 days of the tournament? Or is it maybe better to come in, lose a game, win a game, you know, close games, just get yourself through and save that peak form. Yeah, save that peak form, save that peak performance for the later rounds. We've seen teams do it so often and go on to win the tournament.
I mean, I'd rather teams play well the whole way through.
I know, but it's easier said than done.
Obviously, yeah,
it's easier said than done to come in and just dominate from day 1 all the way through to the end.
We've had days in the ranked stat where you've been an absolute demon one day and the next people are running on site and just killing you for no reason.
We've all been there. And this is it, you know, especially at tournaments at this level, you're coming up against the best in the world. Very difficult to maintain those sorts of results. You know, at that point, what, are you going to go through the entire tournament and not lose a map? Or just lose one map in a best of 3 somewhere? It's very unlikely when you're playing against these teams. So for me, if you've got to lose a map or 2 here or there, take it in the groups. Get yourself through and then really storm it in the playoffs.
Just as a reminder, we do have 8 games on this stream today. We've already had DarkZero versus G2 that was 8-7 to DZ. A very thrilling game from start to finish. This is our second. The third game we step into is Direwolves versus Team 1, which in itself should be quite exciting. You know, Direwolves coming in with very much a hot streak coming out of APAC South, but the question that kind of hangs over them is, but can they do it on the international stage? Not a rainy night in Stoke, Tim. The international stage is where they've really got to show up against Team 1, who, as we know, are also playing remote, the same as W7M.
That's it, and you know we don't know how that's going to pan out for the teams that are playing under those circumstances. As it is, W7M have been pretty competitive so far. 5-4 inside of the server, certainly making a game out of it. I think we're going to be getting back in any second. We'll just make sure everything is tickety-boo before we transfer you back over.
Tickety-boo.
But we should be on our way. I don't know.
I've heard it a lot
I just know
over
that
the
it
years.
means okay.
Yeah,
everything's okay.
It's got an origin, right? No one just kind of one day randomly went, oh, tickety-boo. Oh, what a great way of saying everything will be okay, right?
I don't know.
I want to know the origin. I'm going to look it up later.
I'm sure it'll give you something to do. I mean, I'm going to probably watch the games.
Yeah, you do that. I'll do that as well. But, you know, we've got breaks, we've got pauses, we've got dinner to go and have later as well. We've got plenty of time to chew through.
We've got lunch to have yet. We've been on since early this morning. We're waiting. We're waiting for our lunch at this rate.
It has been a wild 24 hours, mate. Yeah, it's one of those. I think this time yesterday I was in the air over to Detroit.
Yeah.
And then here we are now. In wonderful Charlotte.
Yeah.
Where did you fly through?
New York. JFK.
Oh, nice. Okay. Busy?
Very busy.
Yeah?
Yeah, very busy.
Detroit was busy, but not like so busy that you couldn't. You could still move, right? You were okay.
Yeah.
Just one of those. And then Charlotte's been wonderful as well. Right then, back into things. Round 10 underway. As we mentioned, this is a critical round because if DarkZero find this one, They're at 6 and 4. It's going to take a bit of an effort from W7M to get things back up. If W7M win it, we're guaranteed to see all 12 regulation rounds, Tim. And that in itself is one way to really start hinting towards overtime. We've already seen one of them today. We saw how close it gets. Let's see if W7M can get anywhere near it.
Going to have quite a top floor presence from W7M, similar to what we saw out of DarkZero when they were trying to defend at this site. Not too much of a surprise there. Volps on the Jaeger is up there. Going to just be applying those ADSs to try and keep, I would imagine, GDN on the smoke. Potentially he's going to play in a similar position to Pamba, but we'll see if he moves up those trophy stairs or not. At the minute, it's looking like it's JV. No, JV is still downstairs in kitchen. Actually, we've only got Volps and K's up there at the minute. Herds on the castle as well. So it's a little bit, it's interesting, definitely one to watch. We've got Herds, we've got the Castle, we've got the Jaeger, and we've got the Mute. No, it was the Frost that was up there. So the Mute and the Smoke both downstairs with the shotguns, with the Toxic Babe utility. So it could be difficult potentially for W7M to hold DarkZero out of this top floor. It's literally going to come down to gunfights.
May well do, which DarkZero so far have felt a little bit sharper on, outside of Volps having a couple of rounds that will have put the fear up DarkZero's, anyway I can really summarise it. Here he is on the Jaeger, holding himself out towards Mez, and he finds the shot onto Hyper. Sure, takes a bullet or two on the way through, but still manages to pull it off. The holes there on the office wall, not quite large just to creep his way through, but here he comes on the run out. I can't fit in one side, so I run out the front door. What's that all about, Tim?
Volps, I mean, with a great start to the round, really. Hyper was aware of his position. He knew that he was going into a challenge, and Volps wasn't, you know, blessed with the same sort of information, so he did well to win that one out. But Pamba, he's going to level things up, but not for long, as JV manages to find Eclipse. It's 4v2, as there you go. Kaze manages to gun down Pamba, and that's going to leave us now. Kaze on, seriously. Oh, what a peek onto Canadian there, just finding himself a little one-tap as he peeks around the corner, and that leaves us now 4v1, and NJR, he's going to have a real difficulty here. Tries to play the patient game. He does have time on his side. Can't find the kill. It is doable if you look at the hit points on the side of W7M. Kaze and Herds both under 20, and Volps only just above half. So with a little bit of patience, it is possible for NJR, but it certainly won't be easy.
He's got 60 seconds to do it all in as well. It feels like a little bit too much time here to make any magic happen. Got 4 men to find. Yes, low, but easy to find? Absolutely not. They dart their way back into the rest of the map, and NGR's now going to go on a bit of a hunt, a bit of a mouse hunt, and gets found by the mouse first, sinking his fangs into NJR. W7M find this round and force us through to at least 12 rounds, Tim.
Once again, DarkZero just unable to find that 2-round cushion, allowing teams back at them, back into it time and time again here. Now 5-5 on the scoreboard, as you say. Guarantees us 11. Only one of these teams going to get an opportunity to close it out in regulation and take the full 3 points. What a beautiful view we get of that one, zoomed in, as it was a fantastic shot from Kaze on the Frost, just able to find Canadian at the piano double door, take him down, and that is going to leave us now heading in 5-5 on the scoreboard. And DarkZero, they need to get these next 2 attacking rounds done. The last thing they want is more overtime.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't be massively shocked to see Eclipse step away from playing on the Capitale here. In fact, that's a lie. They use it to assault in towards Mez. Again, I saw it a lot in an AL Stage 3, where when they're trying to push in towards this site and they want to get the player off Mez, they make good use of the firebolts just to force the player away from shields or from against the wall, and normally then into a sightline which grants them a free kill. So you'll see it coming out in this round, I've got no doubt, and Hyper, normally being the entry player, steps across here to play on the support, picking up that ace instead. We did hear the same about Mowgli earlier on, mind you, in their game on Clubhouse against Chiefs, I want to say it was. Walked a 5K with an ace. What's that all about?
These things happen, you know. He get himself on the AK and he does the business. Taking them down and winning the game for Wolves, a big start for Mowgli. This is the other thing, you know, we come in and obviously we're so focused on the orgs and the teams, but we've got a few big names here, or they're not big yet, but they certainly will be inside a Siege one day. And, you know, there's a few real opportunities for players who are pretty new on the scene, like Mowgli, Benja, like Volps, you know, all these players that have a real opportunity to make a big name for themselves, and it's great to see them come out strong right at the beginning of day one and start putting a marker down.
I had a good chat with Rise earlier, actually, because they were, of course, milling around behind us. I just called him and said, hey, you know, I'm really glad you guys have got an org. How you feeling? He was like, truthfully, really good, obviously, but here to have fun, ultimately. You know, gel as a team, really get our feet together and sort out what's going to happen moving forwards. So for them, it's like not grand expectations of saying, oh, we're coming here to win the whole thing, although I'm sure they all believe that. But for them, it's about making sure things are settled, ready for stage 2, and a good foundation to build on. Just so many stories coming together for different teams at this major, and that's what's wonderful about it.
It is. You know, quite often we come into majors and it is the focus on 1 or 2 teams, but it just shows the growth of Siege as to how many could potentially go on and win this and how many little storylines there are interlaced within each other. Now then, we're going to have W7M. A little bit of a presence on the top floor, but nothing too heavy. Pretty much the same as last time. K's out in Library Corridor, and then the man just on mezzanine as well. GDN inside his sights. He's been forced away from Connector again by the same hole being opened up from those main stairs. That's going to be the ace of Hyper that has gone in and done that. Herds just holding on to mezzanine again. There's no real pressure coming into Library, and DarkZero just being a little bit slow here.
They are having a lot of fun behind us, aren't they? I believe that's Astralis Wolves on the other stream.
Astralis Chiefs, I think.
Astralis Chiefs?
Astralis Chiefs.
Of course, yeah, Chiefs have stayed on, I think, for the second game, maybe. I'll find out in a minute. Either way, let's look at what's going on in front of us, because we've got to the last 60 seconds, Tim, and no one's died. What is that all about? W7M, normally the ones to go aggressive and try and find some aggression early on, shut down the side of DarkZero before anything really gets going. But as it stands right now, I've just heard about the other stream, by the way, 4-1 to Wolves. So, a good advantage on their side right now.
You keep saying Wolves, do you mean Chiefs?
I'm pretty sure I mean Wolves.
Okay. They must have been the team that stuck around. Astralis Wolves.
The
It is them.
C4
The
miss.
diffuser's going down here, and that is going to be successful from Eclipse. Great cover there to allow him to get that done 3v3, and that could be a huge moment for DarkZero inside of this matchup on Chalet. Hyper, he's got himself on the upside down rappel. Case is going to go for it though. He's on the disable. He's going to make an attempt. The cover's in place. GDN gets one, but he can't get another. No, he doesn't. Canadian finds both of those, and that is going to protect that diffuser and almost certainly win the round as Herds. He tries to do what he can. He battles on. He tries to find a man, does not, as Pamba shuts him down with the LMG, and that's going to be DarkZero giving themselves another opportunity to take a win here.
We see some beautiful executes on this map, Tim, and I always think about ones through that bar gaming window as ones that really set the pace for it as well. Just in you go, you've got the cover coming in from the window as well. Plant is down, Canadian with a kind of drive-by two. Looking skyward at just the wrong time, and it falls by the wayside. That's DarkZero with the chance of securing 3 points. 5 games after 2 games would... 5 games? 5 points after 2 games.
I'll tell you what, Des, if they'd won 5 games in 2 games,
it would be magic.
I would be very impressed by that.
If you're looking at mini games, then maybe you can include it, but there's no mind games or mini games going on here, Tim. For them, they want those 5 points in 2 to really start things off here.
Honestly, I think if you'd have said to DarkZero first thing this morning, you can have 5 points off the first 2 games right now, I think they'd have bitten your hands off, and they'd said, yeah, absolutely. Against G2 and W7M.
I think most teams would, to be fair.
They would, genuinely. What a start that is.
Absolutely.
What a start that is for NA.
All right. Here we go then, potentially the last round. W7M making a couple of changes. Once again, the castle returning, but that Warden coming in for Herds. So maybe the expectation they'll get themselves cheesed out here. They're expecting smokes, flashes, you name it, and just want to make sure they've got a safe advantage to it. They won't be miles away because by the looks of it, Canadian is stepping in here playing on Thermite. You've got the Ossa stepping in, so there is a little bit of cheekiness coming out from DarkZero who want to close this out here and now.
Yeah, I think what we're likely to see is the office wall opened up and then Eclipse just looking to get one of those Talon shields down on the inside of the wall. Probably you'll see the melee hit onto it to shatter the shield, so they can't necessarily see what's going on behind there, and then just try and get the plant down. We obviously saw that thwarted by DarkZero earlier, with Eclipse playing underneath, made it difficult for Prano.
Cafe, yep.
So that could be the same situation here. DarkZero need to sort of take that knowledge out of their own book and make sure that they're in control of dining particularly, so they don't suffer with that. But I think that's possibly what we will see, unless they decide to get themselves in through Solarium and do the same on the other door.
Either way, the real focus for the side of W7M is those 3 players in the middle of their leaderboards, looking at Herds, Volps, and GDN. They've got the impacts, they've got the C4s. Those are the things that can shut away those shields from the Ossa and make sure that they can't get in for those cheeky plants sat behind them. So keep a close eye on both of those C4s and the impacts. See when they get used, because hopefully it's not too preemptive. But if they don't know the Ossa is coming, you might find them burning them quicker than they'd like normally.
JV's just going to be playing on that door. The castle barricade is gone, so might get aggressive. We've seen already W7M try that, trying to peek out of there. It was a battle between Kays and Canadian last time, but see whether JV can potentially have any more impact. Herd's getting aggressive up towards Library as well. DarkZero going carefully, cautiously here. We've only got 6 drones left. Make that 5, make that 4 as 2 get taken out by W7M. So with half of the round left, DarkZero, they're going to be playing in with limited information here. Volps has taken a ton of damage on the downstairs, but it's that sort of position that I was talking about that they need to make sure they deal with if they do want to get in and maybe plant behind an Ossa shield. But Herds, he's going to start things off with a nice kill onto Hyper.
It's a great start there, removing the 0, because of course you also deny away any information that wasn't already out in the map. And I think Hyper only had time to get out one of those SAM cams, so a little limited in terms of what information he can feed back and forth at this point. He'll be resigned to drone duty for the rest of the round. So for DarkZero, not the start they wanted. 2 members of W7M that are down to about 10, 15 HP. They're a bullet away from death. So if they line this one up right, this could be their round to take.
Case knows that the man has come in and finds the kill onto Canadian. He was just stood watching the whole time. It was as easy as that. Catches him on the jump into the window, stuck in the animation. It's all up to Eclipse on the Ossa. 30 seconds left to go, 1v5. He's going to be lucky to find this not being a flawless round, and he doesn't even hit the shots onto the Aruni that's gone out of the window. And that is going to be closed out for W7M. And once again, Des, we're going to overtime.
Of course we are, Tim. A bit of a kicker at the end there. I mean, to lose all 5 members so easily to W7M as well, they barely looked challenged there, to be honest. And that's part of the fear, is DZ just felt unaware of these movements of W7M. And that, to be honest with you, is what we expected back at the very start of the game. With that Jackal ban coming in, we expected a lot of movement out of these W7M members to keep DarkZero guessing, to be disrupted, to get up in their face. So much so that DarkZero said, you know what, tactical timeout as we step into overtime, not a bad idea, because they remain on the attacking side here for at least 2 of these rounds. Imagine if W7M snagged this win from under their nose. It would be unbelievable, Tim.
It really would at this point. I mean, you know, DarkZero, I think in both games, I've got to say that they have looked in command. They've looked like the team more likely to win out of the 2 with G2 and W7M. It's been very close. They've both, you know, had their moments against DarkZero, but DarkZero have certainly looked more stable. And the fact that they haven't been able to get either of those done in regulation, I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world for DarkZero. They know that they're in a very difficult group, so, yep, you're not going to be sort of too beaten up about the fact that these teams are taking you into overtime. But one thing I will say is it's unlikely that you're going to go on to win a tournament if you're not getting games finished before overtime, game after game after game.
I mean, this is it, right? When we come round to the end of Wednesday and we're sat here saying, DarkZero, they were 1 point off first place and being seeded against this team instead of that one. Yep. Or they were 1 point off getting out of third place and being in second. These are the games that will point back and say, oh, you know, on day one, they had some all right games, but that win against that 2-1 win or whatever it is, or 2-point win against W7M is the kind of game they should have had over the finish line, because, you know, you can say it how it is. W7M, we know, are playing on lag. You aren't seeing any big flick shots coming out of them. A lot of the shots they're taking are pre-fires or swings, and they're just hoping that there's a movement coming in at the right time, playing off that kind of information, and it's coming less on the kind of twitch reaction that we see players pull off on a LAN client. Yet they've still got themselves up to a point where we're at this scoreline and where overtime is required for DarkZero, not just to guarantee a win, but to even be in with a chance of a win still.
Here we go then, round 13 it is going to be. Will we see another big round from Hyper like we did last time around when we got ourselves into overtime? DarkZero needs somebody to step up and take control of this one. W7M going to be looking to get themselves established in overtime. They've just done pretty well on the defense. They've won that last round flawlessly. It does give them a little bit of an edge, you've got to say, coming into this one. It's going to be Master and Office once again. Same site. They had Volps underneath. DarkZero unable to really deal with him. Hertz played aggressively in towards Library. DarkZero unable to deal with him. Can W7M get away with rinsing and repeating the same thing? It looks like they're going to try. They've got Herds again playing aggressively. Kays, he's on Library stairs. It's an identical setup from W7M.
It was kind of the flanks last time that did so much work in Kays. Sure, it's not a flank coming up Library stairs, but it's the same position where he finds NJR. He has been the Library kind of balcony player, or the bathroom balcony player for DarkZero. So now they've lost that control. They'll have to backfill it, which probably means that Pamba or someone else needs to move over now to give them some pressure to face off off towards Piano.
Herds has taken a little bit of damage in there. He's going to move himself onto holding the office door, taking down a drone as well. Still 7 left for DarkZero, so better drone economy this time than last. Plenty of information for them, and they've got NJR who can just cycle through those drones and cams and feed information back in. So that is something at least for the side of DarkZero. They're going to have the information game on point, you would expect this time around. Volps is back up onto the top floor rather than playing underneath, so bit more progress from DarkZero this time rather than the attack that we saw last time. They've got the wall open into office, so they can now look to potentially get a diffuser down. Eclipse is on the Ossa once again, so that play that I was talking about, just nudging in, getting the talent shield down, getting the diffuser down behind it, could be on.
So, but here's one now being set up. Herds finally meeting his maker. It's Pamba. He's finding the revenge for NGR, who went down earlier, sat again outside on the office balcony here and looking to do some damage. For the rest of the boys, it's getting themselves set up on this office wall. So I think it's very clear what the orchestration is here, Tim. It's going to be planting just inside of this wall. But to do that, at least you've got to worry about this mirror window that looks straight across in towards Piano. They clear the man out of there, then they're in a great position, and it's Volps, the last man on Earth you want to be sat in this position.
Flashbang is going to push Volps back out, and that gives an opportunity, I think, for Eclipse to get in there and get that shield down. Kaze is underneath though, and that's the nitro that they needed. As I said last round, DarkZero had to be in control of Dining if they wanted to make that plant, and they have failed to do so and being punished for it. A big play from Kaze on the Mozzie. W7M cruising towards an advantage in overtime here, 3v1, but Pamba, he gets in, he finds one. That's a triple on the round, shut down by GDN as he just pops up from behind the bomb chassis and gets the final man. W7M, they have the advantage. They have their first opportunity to take a win here in Charlotte.
It's another one of those where, again, back in the very first half of this map, I was saying DarkZero just looked like the more experienced team. They're making use of the verticals. W7M not looking for control of them and paid the price 2, 3, 4 rounds in a row. Whereas here, DarkZero have been given a taste of their own medicine, not respecting that vertical. The C4 closing one out with the smoke denying away onto the actual balcony itself. Very well orchestrated from W7M, who were in with a real chance here of closing things out, 8 and 6. What a twist of the tail that would turn out to be.
It really would if W7M could turn. You know, if you look at the game, they've consistently been playing from behind effectively. They were 3-2 up. That's the only time that W7M have led. Other than that, it has been DarkZero that have been ahead throughout consistently. W7M now having the opportunity, of course, to close this one out and get the win. If they can get this round, it would be 8-6, and it would be 2 points to W7M. They're going to be attacking this time, and it is going to be on to Bar and Gaming. We saw last time that DarkZero had this sort of soft hold of top floor. They'd have NJR inside of the library box, they'd have Hyper out on mezzanine, and that would be the entirety of their defense for top floor. I'd be interested to see W7M maybe push in from the solar and office side, because there really wasn't much utility or presence put out there from DarkZero, and it could make it a nightmare to try and stay mezzanine and library.
They've basically directly stolen one of DarkZero's lineups here, where they've got the Ace on side, the Harbreach gadget with the Capital coming in. They didn't run this back in the first half, so there are a couple of changes coming in here in terms of intent, and no doubt how they also want to play these rounds. It feels very execution focused. You've got things like the Lion side again that they used a lot in the first half, and the reason for that we acknowledged was likely because what you can do is lock a player in place. When you send him on a drone, you just swing and pre-fire him. It plays well into the fact that W7M are playing on a bit of ping. But here, Tim, they could just try and look for an execute very similar to what DarkZero pulled off. They do need the vertical control before they look for that, though.
They certainly do. And there is a presence with Pamba on the top side of the map for DarkZero. So it's not going to be easy for W7M to walk in from there. They're certainly going for it. GDN is in a position to try and get the diffuser down, but no, he finds himself taken out by the smoke of Eclipse. 4v3 though, as 2 kills come in. It's going to be Herds and Kaze who managed to get them, and this could be dangerous for DarkZero as Pamba gets down. Volps is in with the diffuser, Des. He's going to make the plant here almost certainly. I don't see that they're likely likely to stop. He does try, but it's too late. And now DarkZero in a 3v3. They've got to fight their way back in.
They've got the one vertical, but it's K's and hers. They've got the diffuser down. They've got out of dodge like bandits with the bank. They've made out of there. And now it's about what these last three members can do. DarkZero, the ones who have to scramble. They've got to run into these angles that are being held. They're very conscious of where they could be. Every corner being checked with absolute detail. But you haven't got a lot of time here. We're down to what could be the last 10. A wonderful trade coming out. By the looks of it, they've found it. A 1 versus 1 stepping in. The diffuse attempt coming out. Herd's going to run his way in. If he goes too early, he leaves it out. Going to have enough time. No, they haven't got time to defuse. W7M dispatching of DarkZero here and putting themselves in a position to have 2 points coming out. These two teams are tying up the top of the group almost.
Herd's doing just enough at the end there, just to back NJR off. Nothing DarkZero can do about that one, and I think they're going to rue maybe a couple of missed opportunities throughout that game, but W7M have fought hard, and what a start we have had to the A stream, Des. We've had an 8-7, we've had an 8-6, we've had 2 overtime games, absolute bangers, the pair of them, and I just really hope that that is setting the bar of the standard that we're going to continue to see here at the 6th Major in Charlotte.
I realised towards the back end of that close, they're not yet tied because DarkZero do walk away with 1 point from this game. So they sit on 3. Half the points taken from 2 games. It's not quite the end of the world for them, but for W7M, a big statement that this group is anything but predictable. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll break that game down a little bit more. Welcome back to the A stream, where we've just witnessed our second banger of the day. Both games involving DarkZero. Weird that, Tim. An 8-6 to W7M. Some fantastic rounds taking place once again. And Group C looking as confusing as ever.
I mean, it's not like us to get overtime games, is it?
Weird that.
We've only cast 2 and we've had 2 overtimes. We're on 100% hit rate right now. And I need to lie down after that because what a start that's been.
It has been special. All the way through, we've seen some brilliant moments as well from individual players that we'll see on our highlights reel in just a second. I think looking back at that first game, really close and down to the wire, could have gone either way. We got the feeling in that second game that DarkZero were largely in control for the first 7 or 8 rounds, and then W7M really started to get the hang of things. They were running amok around the map full of confidence, and that was when DarkZero really struggled to fight their way back in.
I don't know, I think, you know, I look at that and I did mention stamina and fatigue coming in. They had that big tense opener with G2, 15 rounds, and then it goes to overtime again, and you just look at that and wonder, you know, were W7M just a little bit fresher at that point? DarkZero have really been through the ringer up to that, and, you know, has it taken its toll when it's got through to that late stage?
It has got to a certain point to think where you are going to be feeling a little bit weary. But having said that, we are at a major. You will have to play a best of 3, potentially, Tim, a best of 5 if it comes through to Sunday as well. Still a lot of work for all teams to do in that case, and a lot of endurance that you're going to have to show. Jump in between regions, different opponents as well. Like I say, 1 second you face off against a European team, the next it's against the top in LATAM. What are you going to do about that?
It was certainly never going to be an easy start for DarkZero today, and they don't have much better to look forward to be fair. It's not going to get any easier when they go up against Heroic. But I think DarkZero can take an awful lot away, not just from that game, but G2 as well. For me, I'll hands up be honest, DarkZero have looked better than I expected today.
Agreed.
They've looked great so far. Just keep going, guys. Nail down those, those pushes, those attacks, sharpen things up, and they're going to be seriously dangerous at this tournament.
I can't ignore again that fact, though, that it's 3 points out of a potential 6 here. Both games in overtime. They could be looking back at this on the last day and say, 2 or 3 rounds will be the difference between us not having those 3 points and having them. And that, again, can be a massive part in it. Yep. Big thing for me across both of those maps, though, not just for DarkZero, but also their opponents has been vertical play, right?
Yes.
The number of times we've seen C4s or bullet holes being opened up from both above and below and having big impacts on those rounds, that's where it feels some teams have really got to start tightening things up.
They need to start finding those players underneath. I've picked up on it a couple of times. We saw it with Eclipse against G2. He was successful in shutting down the plant. You can't then go into Chalet and allow Kays underneath on the Mozzie to shut down your plant attempt. You've done it yourself. You've used it successfully. They've got to be making sure, and that's where I say sharpening up, just tightening up a couple of things. It's got to be those bits, making sure they're aware of where players are. They've got the verticals, and those obvious shutdowns can just be taken out of it.
Awesome. Well, we have some stats to take a look at here as well. So in case you did miss the game, we did a bit of a rehost halfway through so we can take a look at exactly how the whole thing went down. Big key players, Tim, for me. NGR was huge. Volts had some big rounds, and Kays also some massive rounds.
Kays has been a real standout for me there. Coming in, obviously, we were talking a lot about Volps, but then we look at it and we think, yeah, Kays has had a really good game out of it. 14 kills, a big performance, and big moments as well. Shutting down plants, really changing things around.
Well, we've got a couple of bit mix-ups there on team stats. We'll come away from that, but you can see again who those big players were throughout as well. Some big names for some, others kind of delivering consistently as we went throughout the game. That's DarkZero done for today as far as I'm aware now. They've played their 2 games. They were the first 2 that we had. They get to breathe a sigh of relief and go and kick back and watch some Siege. But I'm pretty sure W7M we still get to see play a bit later on. I know G2 play against Heroic on the B stream in game 4, I think it is, so a couple of hours for that.
Yep.
Group C is far from done, but there are plenty more games still going on. In case you can't hear it behind us, Wolves versus Astralis is really getting up to a fever pitch. So go and check that out, but also stay tuned here as next up is Direwolves coming up against Team 1. Another big game with 2 names that have got a lot to prove. Back in a few.